some form of understanding. It means receptive language is growing. That's the ability to be able to recognize. The cognitive skill is growing. So that's one area that you need to look at when you're preparing a child for adulthood. Then expressive language. If I also touch the cup and say, what is this? And the child says cup, then the communication is growing, you know. And despite, though there are levels, you know, this is just the beginning stage for expressive language. Okay, there's vocabulary, sentence building and all that. Then you also have the social and emotional skill. The child should be able to coordinate or understand feeling and behave appropriately. You know, so that's why you see many children with autism throw tantrums because they can't control their emotions. Either it is hyper, you know, they can't, you know, seem to express it appropriately. Then this social emotional skill includes interpersonal skills, whether it is verbal or non-verbal. You know, I can give a facial expression and expect my child or a child to understand it. So all those are part of communication skills, okay, social and emotional skill. When somebody is angry at you, the child is able to understand it. Then anger management. Because of the fact that many of them can't speak, you know, they tend to act it out. So you have that behavior. So they also have to learn. That's another behavioral area that needs to be looked into. Then appropriate or socially acceptable behavior or behavioral skill. For example, if a child at the age 2 is not potty trained, it is socially acceptable. But when the child gets to the age of 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and still not potty trained, then it becomes socially unacceptable. Then we also look at coordination. Coordination is one area that children with special needs battle with. So it's occupational therapy and movement therapy is very important in this area, helping the child to be able to coordinate him or herself. Then the self-help skill. The child should be able to, you know, use the toilet, clean himself or herself, use her pencil, dress herself or himself. So these are areas that are very key, you know, to adulthood. These behaviors should be learned or for a child who's growing and developing into adults. Now, for all this to be able to proceed, intervention program is very key. It's important. This intervention program is when the child is has been assessed and then seen that there are areas that, you know, this child need input, then an intervention program is drawn up. This intervention program is tailored to the needs of that child. For example, I mentioned the cognitive, the skills, you know, and all that. Having all those we mentioned above into that program, then it is important to also measure at intervals. So after the program and you're working with a child, you should be able to measure if the instructional material or what you're using, you know, is having effect. You're seeing a positive change in the attitude, in the behavior of the child. So it's very key to have measurable goals that you're putting into your plan, and then also checking to be sure that the child is improving. If not, then you have to change or adjust the tool that is being used, you know, as it's well. Then the program has to begin from a baseline. The baseline, I mean, after the assessment, that's why you have every child is different from the other. A child might have speech, but does not know how to build upon the speech. Another child might not have speech at all. So it depends on where the child is. That's where that program begins from. And then it also, after you found out the child's baseline, then you now continue with the strength, because it's the strength of the child that you're going to use to develop the areas that are yet to be developed. Then requirements from parents. We also, for a child to be able to move to adulthood, and the strategies, the behavioral strategies being visible and being seen, it's very important that the parents have a role to play, and they also have to play this role. You know, one thing is that a parent should follow mother's instincts. You have to, if your child has a problem, you feel that your child has an issue, then once you feel that, make sure that you see a professional, talk to a professional, seek for a solution, or you know, someone to help out. Then give it your best fight. You know, you don't let your emotions. We have lots of parents. I have lots of parents having these problems. You know, many parents are at this point where, oh, they are almost giving up, not knowing what to do. But you have to give it your very best shot. Fight it as much as you can. Go out, you know, all that you can. Then start early. Early intervention is key. They say, when you find out that your child has a problem, do not waste time. Give it your best fight. Start the intervention early. Then follow and participate in your child's intervention. It's very key. Sometimes we give a lot of, you know, work or assignments that involves oral or physical kinesthetic movements, you know, but many a times it's brought back, you know, to us, not done. You know, but when a parent follows through this, you're helping your child develop faster into adulthood. Then we have to get a child prepared into adulthood. There are 8 senses, 8 or more. There are more actually. In psychology, we have 5. We say 5 senses, but in psychology we have 8 and more. You know, so all these senses are very key to developing a child to perform to the optimum. You know, the best shots you can give to your child. Now, children learn via these senses. What I see, what I smell, what I taste, what I touch are things I learn from. You know, I've learned that if I touch fire, it will burn me. I've learned that if I smell, if I have this kind of smell, it's a foul smell or a good smell. So all these are key areas that can be used to develop a child, you know, behaviorally in every area. So it's just like when you have a child climb you have a lot of, for example, when you have a child, you have the senses, you have the smell, you have all those key areas. It's very important for the body because the body works in harmony, you know, the body works holistic. But for a child with special needs, you don't have it that way. You might have one, the auditory senses are functioning, the tactiles are functioning. So you have, just like a child that just got down from a roller coaster. So you have so many things working at the same time. So the child is not able to access, you know, to process what's happening to him or her. So when these senses work together, a child is more coordinated. The body and brain is sending messages to and fro in harmony. You have it, you know, so when all these senses are properly stimulated and integrated, so then you have, like I was talking about the roller coaster mode, it's difficult to get the child growing into one independent adult. Okay, so you have these 8 senses include the sense of the olfactory, which is the smell, the sense of smell, the tactile, which is the touch, the visual, which is the sight, the auditory, which is hearing, the gustatory, which is the taste, you know, and then we have this other senses, the proprioception senses, which is kinesthetic. A child learns from what I do. Some kids are very good at doing that movement physically. You know, this sense is actually called the 6th sense. For example, if I have a chair behind my back and I want to sit down, already I know where that chair is. I will just sit down without something. I don't have to look back. I will sit. But for a child with you know, learning difficulties, it becomes a bit difficult. Like when they want to throw a ball in a basket, they are very confused. They can't seem to throw the ball. So this helps with the location and the movement of the body in space. You know, it's part of how the body coordinates itself. And if the body is able to balance and learn, it's very easy for the child. Then you have the vestibular system. Now this is the ability to balance. The child should be able to balance in space. It's different from the proprioception. Now, the vestibular system is like a child swinging. Many of our kids are very afraid to swing. They are very afraid, you know, to be in lift. Many of us are, but we're able to overcome it. But for some of them, it becomes more difficult. Then the interoception system is the child being able to understand the body completely, the physio and physical state of the body. be able to understand what I feel right now inside of me. I feel happy, or I feel sad, or I feel moody. In most of our kids, you don't have this. So preparing a child for adulthood, all these senses are very key to be able to harmonize the child and be able to send the right messages from the body to the brain and the brain to the body. Now, other key points, these senses, when stimulated, helps to develop and mature the brain. There are some kids, when they sit down and they are falling down, like sometimes I get a ball and I throw a ball to a child. He doesn't, put out the hands to show a reflection, to defend something coming in. Most of these kids don't do that. So you see, these senses are not well integrated. Or when a child is falling down, the child is supposed to, extend the hand to prevent, a greater, injury from occurring. But some of our kids don't, they just fall to the ground. So many of this don't develop, many of these reflexes are not fully integrated. There are many exercises that help develop the brain and mature the muscles. The muscles are key to sending messages to the nerves, to the brain, and back to the body. Okay, so you have, the human reflexes should be well integrated, as this form an appropriate human development. Parents should be strong and not allow emotions get the best of them. I've mentioned this before. When advised to do dieting, parents should look into dieting sometimes. Sometimes the child is eating something that is, creating a behavior that is not accepted. The child is reacting and sending us messages that there's something. So it could be in the food the child is eating. So dieting is key. And then the form of learning. Sometimes the child can learn in a group. The child needs to learn in a one-on-one. And sometimes when the child is in a one-on-one learning form of learning and needs to move on to a smaller group of, of pair to learn, then so parents should also look at that and follow the advice of professionals in this area, and the parents should not ever give up. Sometimes we have a lot of parents that say, oh, I've tried this, it's so much money, I'm not, going to do this anymore, and then give up. It's better the child is still having this intervention or this therapy, than leaving that child not to. So it's also important. Then to our government, our kids are maturing and progressing, and also in their education. I strongly feel that if we can't get them into a special school or special secondary school or university in Nigeria, then we can begin a scheme of work different from others. I have many kids that are in secondary school right now, even some in primary school. Usually I encounter a lot of work, overload for these kids. It's overwhelming. Sometimes you've achieved a reasonable amount of behavior, appropriate behavior. And then because the child is in a regular school doing 14 subjects with how many topics, there's, an overload, so you have this child reacting, strongly, throwing tantrums back to the society. So if we have to, always struggle with schools, knock down this scheme of work, this is too much, can we calm down? But many a times the school don't seem to understand it. We've tried to explain that, let's have a different scheme of work for these children, and then a different marking scheme for these children. But as it is, we still keep having this problem. So even if we can't get like a scholarship or a university or a secondary school for these children who are already growing into adulthood, it's best to have a scheme of work with a different marking scheme. I think parents can come together and, push for this, so that the child can keep maturing, into adulthood appropriately without any, relapses. So it's very key. And thank you. Come to the end of the.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Owube.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. I'm sure many have questions, but before we start the questions, I just want to read what the theme for this year's Autism month is all about, Autism Day. It says transition to adulthood. The transition to adulthood is an important challenge for those with autism. So I guess this will guide those who will be asking questions so that we can ask questions along those lines. The floor is open. But please, if you are not going to ask question or you are not talking, please unmute your speaker. And you can help us take off the slideshow so that the Mrs. Owube, please
Yes,
help us take off the slideshow so that the Zoom videos can show properly. Thank you.
Okay.
So the floor is open for questioning.
Unmuted. You can hear now. I can't hear.
I can't hear. Can you help us, Mrs. Owube, can you help us take off the PowerPoint?
Okay.
Yes, please. So that I can see everybody in a profile and the profile of everybody on the slide. Is there anyone asking question? Please first introduce yourself. Mrs. Owube will answer some, and I might be the one answering some others if it's not in accordance along the line of a thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should start with my own question since I can't get anyone on asking a question. Your presentation is nice. Thank you very much for the work you're doing. And I'm sure the parents, for those whom you've done, some of these are very appreciative. I just want to ask, apart from educational assessment or educational assistance, what other form of assistance can you render to our children who are growing into adulthood? Thank you.
Yeah, apart from education, in terms of reading or writing or being able to, we have, I mentioned self-help skill. Some kids, unfortunately, might need help for the rest of their lives. But when an early intervention starts, you might have that number reducing. So you need to understand that the child has to learn some basics, how to help him or herself, bathe himself, eat, feed himself, prepare one food or the other. Now, to surpass that, you also have to remember that the child has to learn a skill. Another problem we have is that many parents in Nigeria are very book-based. When I mean book-based, when you suggest to a parent, oh, let your child learn how to make something, they're always like, so it's something we try, we do, we do a session with the parent one-on-one, trying to convince that parent that your child needs some form of skill, vocation. If the child can, though we have kids who have moved on without even, any form of therapy at all. While we have some children who are doing well in a regular school without facilitation. But we also have some who can't do academic, as in the whole package of academics, but need some form of skill, like maybe basket weaving, maybe wood carving, maybe hair, stuff like that. So we advise parents, it takes a lot for parents to decide that, yes, we want to do this, or yes, let us do this. But, we're still, it's something that we know over time, it will improve.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, what about support in homes? Do you render support in home? What
You guys
advice
need
can
to
you give
bathe.
to
What's
parents
going
whose
on?
children are still having pancakes?
Kayla, come and bathe. So you can help me with
Sorry,
the
I didn't
pancake.
hear you. Somebody's microphone is on.
What?
Hello, ma'am. Can you repeat your question? I didn't hear you. Hello?
Okay. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Aditola John Ogwe. I have an 8-year-old autistic daughter. Okay, so in your slides, I saw that you talked about early intervention and that most kids don't get evaluated until they're about 4 years old. Okay, so I
Yes.
just want to ask a question based on my own experience. So at about, when my daughter was about 11, 12 months, I'd spoken with the pediatrician and told him that I felt there was something wrong. And I'd gone back like 2, 3, 4 times to make the same complaints, but he kept saying that, oh, she'll be fine, she's making sounds. I said, well, she's not talking, she's not walking yet. So better evaluation. And then the teacher made some complaints. So that was when I went back to him and said, okay, now this is coming from the school. I need help. And it wasn't until then that, the evaluation started and our journey began. So I just wanted to find out, is there a way to bridge that gap? Because
Yes.
I believe that's one of the reasons why children are not getting that early intervention. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. If you look at my slide, I wrote, follow your mother instinct. That's your gut instinct. Because many cases, I've had cases where parents have come and say that the doctor told them, the pediatric told them, don't worry, don't put your child there, don't do this, the child doesn't need any intervention, the child just needs time. And unfortunately, over 50% of the kids I have seen from the medical doctors, so I try, it's a good thing such thing is coming up from the hospital. I try to tell the doctors, the pediatricians that, listen, when a mother comes to you to say her child has this, it won't do you any harm to tell the parent, oh, go and see a speech pathologist or a psychologist, or this is, in that field. So it's unfortunate because the child at 2 years, it can actually be diagnosed at 2 years that is a problem, because there's a milestone for every stage or every age. Now, if the child is not meeting that milestone, it just tells you that there's a problem. There is, whether it's by speech, sometimes what the mistake the pediatrics or the pediatricians make is they look at it and they say, oh, since the child does not have this symptom or this oh, it's not autistic, or the child does not have learning delay. It doesn't necessarily have to be autism. It can be special needs or just learning difficulties. It might be very mild. And another thing I have to say is the reason why it is said to be diagnosed on time and start early is as the child proceeds in age, many of the symptoms begin to appear. That's why they say sometimes you don't see it in 2, you see it in 4 or 5. As the child grows older, many more of these characteristics is visible. You begin to see it, like I was trying to explain, when a child is 2 years and is not potty trained, you don't see it as anything. When the child is 4, 5, 6, you begin to see, oh, there's a problem here. But a mother's instincts, a mother's gut tells her there's something wrong. So for every parent here, tell our siblings, tell our friends, tell everybody, say it out there. Even when you go to the doctor and he says there's nothing wrong, it's not going to cost you anything to make that child have an intervention, because in that intervention, it will still do your child good, even if your child still goes back to regular school. Because the intervention, what the intervention is doing is just developing all the senses of the child, which is what is done in a mainstream school. But what the intervention does is what the mainstream school does, and a plus, meaning the normal school or regular school will work with your child as usual. But the intervention will look deeply into what problems your child is having and tackle those issues your child is having. So I don't see any reason why a pediatrician should say, oh no, your child doesn't need intervention, because plus or minus, your child is learning the normal things your child should learn, and the plus. So such programs are very key. And then we also need to sensitize the pediatricians, the doctors, that first usually they come in contact first with these kids, before some of them now say, okay, and refer them. So I agree with you that there should be, that there should be more program between the psychologists and the doctors or the pediatricians. I hope I answered that question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I have another question. Okay,
Yeah,
so in your slides you talked about, the various senses, the proprioception, the other 5 senses and all of that. So you're saying that there are certain exercises that you do. Are those physical exercises, or
yes. Yeah, you can call
just
them
like academic?
Yes, you can call them exercises. Like let me give you an example. When a child is as we grow older, everybody, your reflexes are not as sharp. Okay? You see them not as integrated as they were. That's why a younger person can be fast and quick, swift to do an activity than an older person, or someone who had an accident and had maybe a brain concussion, or maybe an accident or brain injury. You can have the reflexes can be affected. That's the nerves. The human body has a lot of neurons or nerves, that goes from the body, from the spinal cord up to the brain stem. So these activities or exercises or movements, there are many of them, you do. There are some courses on movements and exercise. Muscles to help, to either improve the muscle tone, okay? And then help the child to be able to understand that's why you see a lot of children rocking, need some form of exercises, a lot of exercises that will help send the right messages to the brain. So there are many exercises. If you look it up, there are also courses on it. But I just can't start describing many of these exercises. But all the exercises that you need to do, you're thinking of something that develops the muscles of the hands, of the legs, of the feet, of the limbs. Yeah, every exercise that you think. For example, if my child is not looking, I could get, like, there's something they call stepping stone buckets, and maybe like I put like 6 of it or 8 of it, and I ask my child to walk on it, alternating their legs. You see some of them when they put one leg, one feet, or one foot on the bucket and the other foot down. So they're walking one up, one down, one up, one down. It's kind of difficult for them to carry out that activity. But when you get the child to do that and masters it, what you've just done is develop that one part of the brain.
The brain.
And looks and balances in the air and is able to understand spatial awareness. That's it.
Another question. Do you have a book?
No, I don't have a book yet. I don't have a book yet. But if there's any
Good morning, Mrs. Ngozi.
You can always call. Good morning. Good morning, ma.
Yeah, this is Mrs. Oladele Yusuf. I have a daughter who is 13 years old. I've been diagnosed with autistic. I know, because I've actually done some training, and I know that at this point she only needs to be managed since she has outgrown the age of intervention. So, but my question here is that I'm basing my question on vocational activities, vocational centers for them. I don't know the steps you are taking to make our government to be sensitized with this issue of having vocational centers for these children, that will depend on people for the rest of their lives. You know, it can be subsidized for us when the government comes in, because if we want to foot the bills, we might not be able to do that conveniently. So I don't know what steps you are taking, Ma, so that these vocational centers are situated in areas that can easily be located. Thank you, Ma.
Okay. Thank you, Ma. I want to say something. Intervention cuts across. Anything you're doing to help a child to learn whatever it is intervention. So just her own intervention is just learning skills. Okay.
Yeah.
Intervention is just to learn skills. So they're all interventions. Now, for me, I am very involved with working with children. I have a passion to work directly with children that has learning disabilities. You know, so it takes so much. There's so much, you know. So for me, vocation, I've not really gone into vocation. You know, I talk about it with parents. And I say, the only thing that I always usually talk about is if I have a child that's learning to make hair, for example, I tell the parent that it's costly because you will get somebody who will make that hair, but that person cannot explain it the way I will explain it to my child to understand it. So when you get somebody who's making hair, you still need to get a therapist that will teach that child how to understand and, you know, be able to use that skill to make money or a livelihood or something. Now, in the area of government, coming to still, you know, where I am more touched, I have kids who have moved on to a regular school, in primary school or in secondary school. Some of them even get scholarship, best mathematics in their school. Some get best reader in their school. Now, when I get to the school, and when they are integrated into regular school, you know, I have this issue of having to keep telling regular schools that my child can't go with this scheme of work. It is overloading. You're going to give me a relapse in my child. Cut down on this. But I always have it. At the end of the day, they still put it all back. At the end of the day, many of them say they have a special needs department, but yet they still put it back. They put it back. So what I'm even pushing for right now is, can the government come up with a scheme of work that says children that have difficulties in learning, whether they have speech or whatever, because you have some kids who talk very well, they can communicate, but they have problems in either academics or writing. You know, they're a bit slow. Can the government come up with a scheme of work that is approved with its own, you know, marking scheme for this kind of children? Because at the end of the day, I have a relapse. You have an overload for the child, and the child begins to, you know, child is overwhelmed, and there's a reaction that comes in. You know, so at the same time, we also have some groups that are screaming for vocation, because one or two schools that are into vocation, the fee is, even the parents who have money that can pay are complaining. You know, even the kids that are there, you have a lot. There's a lot, you know, that a child that has special needs, you know, there's a lot that is involved with a child that has special needs. So getting the child into adulthood and getting the child to learn a vocation, we need the government in. So programs like this, if we know anybody in government or something, there's someone I know that actually asks you to click in to this program and listen to parents himself and see how he can help, you know, push it. So that's the way, that's another way we can get parents to get involved, or government to get involved in this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ma.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, this is Data again. So I wanted to find out, okay, with autism, you have the verbal and non-verbal, and in most times you have maybe delayed speech, or you have difficulty in understanding what the child is saying. So I wanted to find out what your opinion is on augmentative and alternative communication.
When a child, there was a child I saw at the age of 8 when he came. He didn't have speech at all.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm reading a book, I don't necessarily have to read out the words for you to hear me, right? I can read the words and understand what I'm reading. Now we can work on the power of mind. If your child has cognitive skills and is bit delayed in speech, let's not just sit and keep saying speech must come, speech must come. The child can write. I have a child I'm seeing right now, he has hearing issues. The parents can't afford to buy the hearing aid. Hearing aid is almost #1,000,000. They can't afford to buy it. But already he's beginning to write and label almost over 1,000 words by writing.
Wow.
By writing them. He will write television and write it out. Your body part, he can label it by writing and paste it all. We're not giving up on speech, but we can move some other areas as fast, as long as the child is good on that area. You know, so you have verbal and non-verbal. Verbal cues and non. If my child can understand my face that I'm angry and adjust himself, or that I'm happy and you know comes and gives me a hug, that's another kind of communication. Okay, I don't have to say, oh, I'm angry at you, or I'm happy with you. The child should be able to read your body language.
Body language.
Yes, but for our children, it's difficult for them to learn. So it's part of the strategy, behavioral strategy that needs to be involved in the program for the child to understand all this.
So you will support AAC? Is that what you're saying? Is it something?
Yes. If your child, there are many different therapy techniques, you know, for working with a child. You try this, you try this, and it's all in terms of, like, a parent called me the other day and said she had animals and her child can label some of the animals. She doesn't know what to do with the animals anymore. And I said, okay, put them all together and ask your child to give you water animals. Ask your child to give you wild animals. And the child couldn't. Okay? So that, you know, as long as it works for your child. If it's not working, you know, remember my slide, I said your child, it should be measurable. Your program
goals
should measure. If that instructional material or your technique is not working, redirect.
Rework it.
Yes, and use another.
Okay.
So as long as it's working and you're seeing something that is coming out of it, the only thing you need to do is how do you develop from the level where you are to another level.
To the next level, absolutely.
Level.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm on again, ma.
Okay, ma.
Yeah, my question now is on the issue of making sure that special teachers in these various fields are kind of multiplied, they are increased. Maybe the government should put in place these courses in our various universities. You know, I know they do special education, but it's not comprehensive enough to meet up with what we are talking about now. So I want to kind of plead with us that maybe we should take a bold step to make them know that there's a need for them to include these disciplines in the various institutions that we have, so that we can have more of these specialists on ground who can manage these children. That's my question.
Okay. When it comes to the number of therapists, it's actually growing by the day. But one thing parents also have to understand is there are many therapists and there are therapists.
Yeah, I understand.
So getting the right kind of therapist out there is key. And one way is through our higher institution, our education, our, enlightening them. The government should come up with a lot of training. It's key. I've been working with children with special needs for 17 years. As I speak to you, I still attend courses, and they are not cheap.
They're not cheap. That's what I'm talking about. To get the real ones are so expensive.
They're not cheap.
Yes.
They are not cheap. You know, so if the government, we need the government in this area. We just can't keep quiet. We just have to keep talking till we get the right set of people to the program. We just need the right, it just takes one person who is convinced in his or her heart to do something. So we just need to keep going and keep talking and keep going and keep talking. If you know anyone who knows somebody in the government, invite the person for the program. I mean, my husband knows someone. I already told the person to, you know, I mean, thank God it's recorded. If he doesn't come online, I'll still send it to him. You know, we just need to keep talking and talking and talking until we get the right people. Some kids are very good. They are very, in terms of, you just work with them. I work with some kids. Under 4 months, the speech has come. Behavior is there. They're doing well, you know. But the parents can't afford the therapy. We need some form of scholarship for such children, okay, from the government. We need a vocation for them where the therapists are involved, because some of these, the few we have, the vocation is they just have it there. They just have somebody comes and teach a group of children. Many of these children can learn in a group. It's not possible. Many of them can learn in a group until they acquire some basics. When they've acquired those basics, then they can manage dependently or partial dependence. Okay, so we need to keep pushing and pushing until we're able to get, you know, to this level that we all want.
At this junction, let me also say something that I belong to a community and I'm fully into it. Okay. And if you don't mind, Ma, I could give you the number of my chairman, who is the MACDC chairman, that's the ACDC, Area Community Development. I just feel taking up these steps from the grassroots will make sense, Ma. Because, you know, kind of they are directly linked to the local government, who in turn is linked to the state and then to the federal. And I think if
Sorry, Ma, did you invite him to this program?
Ma?
Did you invite him to this program?
Not at all. I'm a member of this support group, LUTH.
Oh, okay. You should have invited him to the program.
Okay, I should invite him, right?
Yes. When we have another one, he should be here.
Okay, he's kind of busy. I want you to talk to him first. He's somebody that is very, very busy. Maybe if you talk to him first, then our next meeting here, he'll be invited if he's not busy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no problem. I can have his number. I can talk to him. It's
All
very important for, sometimes you have your heart shatters when some parents come to you with a child with, some parents have 3, some have 2. Yeah. Just one can demoralize you, not to talk of 2 or 3, you know, and then you are in a confused state. Yeah. So it's something we need to look at. And for those who are truly, you know, passionate about this, that can help, they need to be trained to have the right skill and the right facility, you know, to be able to help these children. Because, I mean, for the 17 years of my life working with children, I've seen tremendous improvement. Many of them you wouldn't even believe. And some parents ask me and say, did this child ever have autism, or was it just, you know? And I would say, let's just thank God that yours came out, you know, can't just seem to understand how it came. There are some, I tell you, when you see them, your heart will break.
Yeah. This morning, a parent called me and told me that she could not take it anymore. She was crying like a baby. She has 2 that she's handling. She was just crying. And thank God, you know, because I am also wearing the shoes, so she could easily relate with me very well.
Yes, yes. There's also a parent forum. You know, I don't know how large it's growing, but there's a parent forum. And many times I refer a parent to another parent who seem the child.
I thought of it, but I just want to tread with caution because, you know, most of them.
No, I had a sister, a first cousin with special needs. It was terrible. So imagine someone that she was losing her speech. She lost her speech eventually.
Oh, no.
And then sometimes the condition comes with other condition, maybe hearing issues. So you have a child that has autism and has hearing problem, or you have a child that has hearing that has Down syndrome, or you have, you know, that kind of, all this, it comes sometimes, not just one issue comes. So my sister had not just 1, but 3. And then we were thinking, because as at those many years ago, we didn't know what it was. So we're thinking, what can the issue be? what's the problem? What can this issue be? So she was on a lot of medication. You know, so she was on medication, she was putting on weight and many things. We just couldn't explain what was going on. And then there was a time she was falling sick. We were wondering what it was. We took her to the hospital. She was pregnant. So you imagine someone with special needs, pregnant, not married, sleeping with, taking advantage of her.
Yes. Oh,
so we
no.
have cases like that. In Nigeria now, we have cases like that. A child that has special needs is being taken advantage of.
Yes, and then these things have to be handled. There are things that should be put in place so that all these things, these people that are causing this havoc to these children can be dealt with.
Yes. So we need to start on time. The child needs to, so that even the child cannot talk, the child should be able to point or, you know, behave, say something, write something, say something, show it in the behavior that there's a problem. You know, so these are areas we need to the country or the government need to consider. A boy who's developing into adulthood, you have the problem of puberty. A girl growing, you have the problem of rape, of someone taking advantage of that child.
Yes.
So these are all the things parents worry about.
From my side here, I'm going to really try my best, ma. I'm going to really be pushy, making sure that at least in my community, children like that are catered for. And then so on. So other people can also follow suit.
Yes.
Because
it takes one place to start. Yes, it takes one step.
It's well.
It's well.
Hello, good morning all.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Dr. Quadri. I've been on the group since. I'm standing in for Dr. Campbell. She had to leave the group. I think our network was acting up. So the Zoom will soon go off because it's usually timed.
Okay.
So yes. So thank you so much, Mrs. Ngozi Ubi. We appreciate all the teaching you put out there. So I hope everybody now understand that there's a lot we can do individually. And I like the last speaker that spoke that she's going to do our bits in our community. It is a start. We start the little way we can, which is a big deal for people. And like Mrs. Ngozi said, you cannot understand unless you are in that shoes. So we will endeavor that we all preach this and talk to people how they can be helped. There are groups, people can be invited to our support group as well. The other parents group, Mrs. Umobi was saying, can also be put out because this thing you can't handle it alone. It's when you have support from individuals that will make you to go to want to carry on. And like she has likely said, the government has a lot to play. So we will, yes, we will like if everybody knows one government or the other. And I appreciate the last speaker as well. She said she's at the local government and CDA. We will love that. I will endeavor you remember to help give Mrs. Obi the number so she can also follow up.
Please, if you are invited to come and speak with them, I hope you won't relent, ma.
No, that's not an issue, but you know, we have I have a senior person as well, so it can be addressed to Dr. Campbell. So she can put someone out there to go and talk to the person. That won't be an issue. Talking to them, inviting them, you can even invite them to our own program as well. This support group that we do, it's because of this program, this pandemic that is making us not do a physical meeting. So it's likely we are going to have this Zoom meeting subsequently, because I think is a way to reach out to many more people who cannot come physically. And I will give it to Mrs. Ngozi because it was a brilliant presentation you put out there, and you enlightened all of us, even those of us that are in the field that knows a little. You even said a lot of things because you are practicing it, you are in it. So this is a good forum for us to understand that this thing is real. We need to support each other as much as we can. And if there's still any gray area before the the meeting end, because the Zoom is usually programmed 40 to 50 minutes, so it might soon go off. So I appreciate if the next program we might be having, you invite more people, because this will more people. This will enlighten everybody that needs help, that there's help if you seek it. So in the light of that, if there's any other area, yes. If anybody has any other thing you want to clarify, the floor is open before we say thank you.
Does she have a website, or somehow we can get in touch with her?
Mrs. Ngozi, did you have a question? Someone wants your website, any way that they can contact you? She can put that out as well. Mrs. Ngozi, over to you.
I'm actually typing it out.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
So you can get that once she types it.
Hello.
So it was really, yes, we are listening.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning. How? Dr. Ngozi, Dr. Kodri, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
My name is Franca. I'm very happy to be part of this meeting. I had everything, and I want to ask one question that has been bothering me. Is there anyhow we can synergize our efforts to provide or to establish a specialized vocational center for our children?
Bravo. Thank you.
Most especially the adult or the teenage ones amongst them. I would also like Dr. Ngozi to please give us her contact, the phone number, email, and website, if possible. Thank you so much.
Ms. Ngozi has actually spoken about this vocational thing, even though she said it's money, it's something that you need a lot of finances to support it. And truly, we need such thing. Fine, if you can synergize in that, individually coming in together to do this, it's a good thing, but we still need to involve the government, like she has rightly said. The government has a lot to play in this aspect.
Can I
Ngozi,
say
do you have anything to say? Yes, please go ahead.
When you're talking about vocation, while waiting for the government, one thing I tell parents is, if you have like 10 kids,
exactly.
Yes, if you have like 10 kids,
come and see something on ground, they want to continue from there. But if they see nothing, they won't see the seriousness in us.
Yes, what I'm trying to say is this: if we have like maybe 5 kids or 5 boys or girls that are interested in hair, for instance, then we can get one person that makes hair. It's the person's job to make hair.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Let's say it's the person's job to make hair. Then we invite the person in maybe 30 minutes every day. Now, those 5 parents can pay her fee. Okay, they can contribute to pay her fee. And she comes in 30 minutes every day. Don't forget, there will also be a therapist right there that will help break the process, because our children can learn in chunks. They learn in bits and pieces. And each bit is beaten to a level where the child understands completely. So if you're bringing in, if we want to start a little, just small, you're talking about a space. You're talking about somebody who makes hair, for example. You're going to pay that person. And then you're also thinking about a therapist that will help to break this process into bits. So you have 3 things, 3 people involved right now. 3, as it were, objects or human individuals involved right now.
We also have the caregiver or the cleaner, so to say, ma. Cleaner or caregiver.
Yes. So you're also looking at that. You're looking at that as well. So you can start small, even though small is not small in the real sense of it.
Exactly. So as a parent as well, we have a lot to do. We have a role to play, like Mrs. Ngozi just said. if you can work with the therapist wherever the child is going into, the school she's attending or he is attending, even barbing salon, things like that for the male child. So this can be promoted. Gather one or few kids, the therapists, to break it down, like she said, because they cannot follow suit in the normal way.
Yeah.
So start individually, start the little you can. And we pray that God will help all of us, because it is a challenge, but we cannot give up. And we will not give up. We will keep trying. And I believe God will help us all. So any other thing, I think we've been able to address your concern, Mrs. Is it Remy? Yes, Remy, yes. I hope we've been able to address your concern.
The website.
You can check the chat. She has written it on
www.kidsstartright.net. It is KIDSSTARTRIGHT.net. It is kids as in kids with the S.
Yeah, KIDS start right.
Yes, start with the normal spell, the correct spelling, start, and then write. KidStartRight.net.
Dr. Jigose, please try and get that as well for our own record.
Hello.
Yes, I said for our home record, try and get our website and home for our home record as well. So for anybody that might need it and contact us, we'll be able to give it out. So if you didn't get that,
I didn't get it, please.
Please,
Ngozi.
Ngozi,
Please, can you help us again?
Can you say it again?
Okay, www.kids, as in KIDS.
Okay.
Okay. And start, the normal spelling of start, START.
Okay.
Kids Start Right, the normal spelling of right, RIGHT. KidStartRight.net.
Okay, .net. Okay, I'll just post it down.
No problem.
So I posted it on the chat.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's fine. That's correct. It's actually having it. We are updating it right now, so it might be down. It will be up in a few days time.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
It's been updated, yes.
All right.
In a few days time, it will be up again.
All right.
I have my numbers there anyway. My phone numbers are there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. So is there any other areas so that we can call it a day and we can move on with our daily activity? And please, we need to keep safe.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We'll communicate the next meeting time before. It's usually once a month, and it's also usually on a Wednesday. So we'll communicate the next Zoom meeting. Hopefully, Dr. Campbell will do that, and we'll relate back to her. Yes, please. And please, we need to keep safe. No going around. This pandemic is real. Let's reach out to our loved ones, call them, give them a call, because psychiatric as well. We know that loneliness and all that, staying at home can also be a challenge. So please always reach out to your loved ones and also encourage them to keep safe.
Thank you so much.
So with this, I think we've come to the end of the program, and we appreciate everybody that came on board. And we hope we'll be able to do this another time with a larger crowd. And thank you so much, Ms. Ngozi. Your presentation was very enlightening.
Yes, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Stay at home.
Were you able to download the presentation?